The Queen is in Northern Ireland for a two-day visit to mark her Diamond Jubilee. She's attended a church service in the town of Enniskillen when IRA bomb went off in 1987, killing 12 people. Tomorrow she's due to meet Sinn Féin's Martin McGuinness, the Deputy First Minister and a former IRA leader. From Enniskillen, here's our royal correspondent, Nicholas Witchell.
No place she will visit in this Jubilee year will offer quite such a cause for hope as the Northern Ireland of 2012. To underline that point, the Queen's first destination was emblematic of the province's transformation. This was the town of Enniskillen on Remembrance Sunday in 1987. The IRA had exploded a bomb. 12 lives were lost. It was one of the most shocking atrocities of the Troubles. A quarter of a century on from the Remembrance Day bomb, the Queen came to Enniskillen to a service of thanksgiving for the 60 years of her reign, but also in a sense of thanksgiving for Northern Ireland's deliverance from its past. In a Church of Ireland cathedral, a Roman Catholic cardinal led the prayers for peace.
Together may we build a home that welcomes all, seeks your justice and lives in peace.
After the service, the Queen left the Church of Ireland Cathedral and walked across the road to make what's said to have been her first visit to a Roman Catholic church in Northern Ireland. Inside, she met youth groups and members of the community. A small gesture, but one that was appreciated in a town which has known such pain in the past. One of those who died in the Remembrance Day bomb was Stephen Galt's father.
With having the Queen here, it brought a lot of people together, even more, I think, with the cross community, with her going to the Church of Ireland and then across the street to the Roman Catholic St Michael's Church.
Tonight the Queen arrived at Hillsborough Castle at the end of day one of a visit, the theme of which is reconciliation. Tomorrow we'll see perhaps the most remarkable demonstration of just how far Northern Ireland has come, a meeting between Britain's head of state and a man whom that state for many years regarded as a terrorist. Martin McGuinness was once one of Northern Ireland's most wanted Republicans, an IRA commander who was active in the Republican movement at the time the IRA murdered the Queen's uncle Lord Mountbatten in 1979. He's now Northern Ireland's Deputy First Minister. He will meet the Queen tomorrow.
The Queen herself lost someone who was a member of her family. So I think it's important that we all recognise that we're in a different place.
The meeting will be brief. What the Queen thinks of it all, we will never know. Yet it will be another significant moment on Northern Ireland's journey away from its past. Nicholas Witchell, BBC News at Hillsborough Castle.
Church bells announced the royal entrance. The motorcade was cheered up the hill to St Macartan's Anglican Cathedral, where the Queen arrived an hour behind schedule. The congregation was made up of 750 invited dignitaries, including First Ministers, past and present. This was a thanksgiving service for 60 years on the throne. But there was also special mention of the Queen's contribution to the peace process, that first trip to the Republic in May last year.
For many, it was an occasion of profound significance and deep emotion. Shackles, which had been steadily loosening since the ceasefires and the Belfast Agreement, finally fell away.
As a further symbol of that bridge building, the Queen then stepped across the road to St Michael's and for the very first time entered a Catholic church on the island of Ireland. First to greet the Queen was the Primate of All Ireland, Cardinal Sean Brady. The royal couple then met some of the 100 guests on what was a busy start to the two-day Diamond Jubilee visit. Back outside there were chants of "We want the Queen" as the 86-year-old monarch began their traditional walkabout, collecting flowers and taking care to avoid a puddle. The Queen's cavalcade then drove past the Enniskillen Bomb Memorial on its way to the new South West Acute Hospital. The Queen visited the bedside of baby Owen Doyle, who is recovering from a serious illness. She also stopped to talk to staff before officially opening the £270 million facility in what was her last engagement in Enniskillen. Julian O'Neill, BBC Newsline.
And our Fermanagh district journalist Julian Fowler is with me now. Julian, in this 25th anniversary year of the Enniskillen bombing, there was a very significant meeting after the Jubilee service this afternoon.
Yes, that's right. There was a private meeting with survivors and some of the relatives of the 11 people who were killed on Remembrance Sunday in 1987. One of them, Stephen Galt, said he was honoured to have met the Queen, and he said it was a very important occasion for him because he felt it meant that the victims of the Enniskillen bomb had not been forgotten.
A very important moment, but important too for the thousands of people who turned out in town and out here, and for some of those die-hard fans it was a very long day.
Absolutely, yes. Those attending the cathedral service were told to arrive at around 7 o'clock this morning, but in fact some of the crowd arrived even earlier. One person I spoke to said they arrived at 4:30, but they were rewarded with a royal walkabout. It was an exciting day for many in Enniskillen, and the crowds gathered early in order to secure the best spot.
Left home at 3:30 this morning, and I'm here since about 7 o'clock.
And why did you come all the way from Limerick to Enniskillen to see the Queen?
Just a bit of a royal fan, so wanted to see her in person.
And what do you have to say to your teachers for letting you come down here instead of doing lessons today?
Thank you.
Even the weather didn't dampen their spirits.
Because it's a great honour to be here, that she has come to Enniskillen. It's marvellous. And we're not worried about the weather today at all, because the excitement is that great.
Well, the cathedral bells were supposed to be heralding the arrival of the Queen here round about now. But as you can see, with all the brollies up in the crowd, the weather has turned against us, and that's made the Queen change her travel plans. An hour late, the royal convoy finally arrived, with some getting a better view than others.
I managed to see the Duke of Edinburgh, not quite the Queen. I saw the top of her hat.
We didn't see the Queen, we just saw the Duke, the Prince Philip waving out the window.
The Queen's outfit was designed by Angela Kelly in Wedgwood blue crepe with a shamrock diamond brooch. But thankfully the royal brolly stayed in the boot. After the church service, a royal walkabout, making those hours of standing around worthwhile.
It's been damp, but it's been worth it.
Fantastic. A real honour to have her in our county town of Enniskillen.
It stood for hours in Dublin, just got a wave of the hand out of the jeep, but to see her close up in person, oh, I'm thrilled.
I got some flowers for the Queen.
And where did they come from?
Hey, Hannah.
Yes.
Mummy, we picked them this morning.
Yeah.
It's 6:30.
More school children greeted the Queen and Duke of Edinburgh at the new hospital, where staff got to show off the new facility.
We never believed that the Queen would come and open it officially, and it's so amazing to think we only moved in last Thursday and here we are today, the official opening, and it's been the Queen, and I think it's just meant so much for the staff.
When we were at the door, we had nothing to do, and the man said we were very patient. So when she came out, she tried to read our badge, but she couldn't make it out.
Good fun had by all. Well, in a few minutes we'll be looking forward to the Queen's programme tomorrow and reflecting on 60 years of royal visits. Donna, it's a real shame Her Majesty missed this glorious Fermanagh sunshine on this, her 20th visit as Queen to Northern Ireland. She did come once before as a princess. So as we reflect on a Diamond Jubilee, Julie McCullough looks back over 60 years of royal visits.
In 1953, they were out on the streets to see the royal couple. It was Queen Elizabeth's first visit to Northern Ireland as monarch, and she could not have been disappointed by the reception. To give you an idea of just what a different time it was, you only have to look at the newspapers from that year. And a full list of all the Queen's movements over the 3-day visit were printed on the front page, so people could have the best chance of getting a glimpse of her wherever she would be. These more relaxed visits continued until 1966, but then they stopped. And in the following years, Northern Ireland became embroiled in a conflict that would go on for the next 3 decades, a place no longer fit for a queen. The next time the Queen ventured back onto Northern Ireland soil was in 1977 for her Silver Jubilee tour, and the welcome was far from warm in some areas.
Those attitudes then were vicious. The animosity towards the Queen was palpable in West Belfast and throughout the nationalist and Republican community in Northern Ireland. They saw her as being the symbol of the division between the two communities. They didn't want her to come. They didn't regard her as being their Queen.
Because of this, security had to be tight. The Queen was under threat, and more than 30,000 troops and police were brought in to protect her.
There were so many officers drafted in here to Coleraine when the Queen was due to visit the University of Ulster here that the force had to hire a fleet of Ulster buses to bring the officers to Coleraine, and there were so many officers to be briefed that the only place large enough to do that was Coleraine football ground.
This turned out to be the Queen's last visit to Northern Ireland for 14 years. In 1979, her cousin Lord Mountbatten was killed by the IRA, sending out a clear message: the royals were not off limits. She didn't come back again until 1991.
Normality that had been sought for 20 years was gradually returning. The view was that it would be acceptable and safe as ever to come to Northern Ireland on that occasion. The visit was not as extensive as subsequent visits or some previous visits. It mainly revolved around the armed forces, but it was important, and it set a new standard for visits.
The new standard was that each one had to be kept a closely guarded secret. It's only now, during the Queen's 20th visit, that we have returned to something resembling what they used to be. Julie McCulloch, BBC Newsline.
Well, those days of major conflict may have gone, but the echoes are still profound. No politics today, but that will change tomorrow when the Queen is expected to shake hands with Sinn Féin's Martin McGuinness. Our political editor, Mark Devonport, is at the Royal Overnight Residence at Hillsborough. Mark, what's happening on that front at the moment?
Oh, well, I think a bit of quiet time for the Queen after what has been a busy day. She arrived here at Hillsborough Castle, her official residence in Northern Ireland, around an hour and a half ago. There was a small crowd on hand to cheer as she became the first person to drive through the ornate Jubilee gates that are behind me at the moment as I speak. Now, tomorrow, as you say, it will all get a lot more political when she goes to this Belfast arts venue and she meets the Deputy First Minister, Martin McGuinness, the Irish President, Michael D. Higgins, and the First Minister, Peter Robinson. Now, we gather that already the Deputy First Minister and the First Minister have done dry runs. They visited the venue, checked out the ground. Martin McGuinness did that just earlier on today. So they want to get things right for what will be an important symbolic moment in the political process, which Martin McGuinness has referred to as him symbolically holding out his hand to shake the hand of every unionist here.
Mark, thank you. So, Donna, another full and interesting day ahead for day 2 of the Diamond Jubilee visit.